nerds, what's up? Today I'm doing my January and February haul and wrap up, so let's get right on into this. I want to show you my haul first. Some of these are going to be library books, so let's do those. So the first book I have here is The You I've Never Known by Ellen Hopkins, and this is Ellen Hopkins' latest book. And if you don't know Ellen Hopkins' style, it's written in prose, so there's pages with very little writing on it, and then there's also some pages with like full text as well. And this book happens to be about two girls. One is named Ariel, and she is a 17-year-old girl with a pretty significantly abusive father. He doesn't do it all the time, but he does get really mad sometimes, and he's really paranoid about cops and such like that. She's also dealing with her sexual identity, and Dad is not a fan of who she might be. And then there's also Maya, who is 17 years old and trying to run away from her abusive mother, and she decides to get pregnant on purpose by her older boyfriend, marry him, and then that might not be going so well as the book goes on. And it was such an amazing story. I really loved it. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give anything away, but I really loved this. And it turns out that some of the stuff that goes on in this book is based on something that happened to Ellen Hopkins in her real life, and that just was really touching to read in her author's note, and I really liked that. Next book I got from the library is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. This is Adam's second book, and I'm currently reading it. I'm about a fourth in. This is about a boy named Griffin and his first love, who is a boy named Theo. It takes place on two time frames. In the past, they're falling in love, and in the present, Griffin is at Theo's funeral, and it's just a roller coaster so far, but I'll talk more about that later. And the last book I got from the library recently is Nevernight by Kristoff. This is the Bibliobook Club's book of the quarter, I guess, February through March's books. So we will be having a live show for this coming up probably at the beginning of April. And this is Kristoff's, I think it's a fantasy book, and it's about a girl who turns into an assassin in order to get revenge. And I have three books here that I actually physically bought from a used bookstore. The first one is... What? Go away. I don't like when Matt comes out. He's cradling Hedwig like he's a baby, and I'm in love with it. Go away. This is a post-secret book. If you don't know what post-secret is, it's it's a collection of postcards that Frank Warren, which is the creator of these books, receives in the mail, and they're anonymous secrets on postcards. So they look like this, and it's just a book full of them. And I haven't gone through this one. I just flipped through it a little bit before I bought it, but I love Post Secrets so much. They also have a website where he puts up weekly secrets on Sundays, and I love Post Secrets so much. The other two books, the first one is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. It's kind of like a classic, I would argue, and I don't really know what it's about. We enter a world where appearances are paramount, where a girl's virginity is auctioned to the highest bidder, where women are trained to beguile the most powerful men, and where love is scorned as illusion. It is a unique and triumphant work of fiction, at once romantic, erotic, suspenseful, and completely unforgettable. That's the little blurb on the back there. And then the last book I got is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And this is also one of those beautiful classics, and I really liked this cover, and it was only $2. And my friend Kelsey, who's an English major, made me buy this. Fair and long-legged, independent and articulate, Janie Crawford sets out to be her own person, no mean feat for a black woman in the 30s. Zora Neale Hurston's classic 1937 novel follows Janie from her nanny's plantation shack to Logan Killick's farm, to an all-black Eatonville, to the Everglades, and back to Eatonville, where she gathers in the great fishnet of her life. Janie's quest for identity takes her on a journey during which she learns what love is, experiences life's joys and sorrows, and comes home to herself in peace. So definitely a book that I want to be reading. Now let's get into the wrap-up. So the first book that I read in the month of January was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This was the Bibliothon's group book for our January winter biannual bibliothon. And so there's a live show on the Biannual Bibliothon channel with a bunch of the Bibliothon girls in it. So I'll link that down below if you're interested in watching it. I gave Stalking Jack the Ripper a 4 out of 5 stars. It's about a girl who is, it's a historical fiction set during the time when Jack the Ripper was, you know, alive and ripping. She's a 17-year-old girl who is illegally and secretly learning the trade of autopsies from her uncle, and so she ends up following Jack the Ripper's killings and trying to figure out who he is, and it was really, really good, and I loved it. The second book that I read in the month of January was My Sister Rosa by Justine Larbalestier, and this was recommended to me from Katrina by Little Book Owl, and she actually gave this to me for my birthday, I think? A year ago now, because my birthday's coming up this month. And I'm so excited that I finally read this. Oh my god, it was so good. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This is a book about a boy named Che and his sister named Rosa. And Rosa is probably a sociopath. Che is a 17-year-old kid who is really interested in psychology. He wants to be a psychologist, and he has been noticing for a long time things that his sister Rosa does that is probably sociopathic. And so he's always watching her. His parents are none the wiser. They refuse to accept what is in front of them, and they just don't want to notice. And it's so good. It's also about this boy falling in love, this boy being willing to stand up for himself for things that he wants to do that his parents don't agree with. And it was all together just really, really amazing. And then there was also this like weird mystery of the sociopath thing, and it was, oh my god. Third book that I read was for the Bibliobook Club's October through December book, and it was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. So there's also a live show up on my channel, or excuse me, on the Bibliothon channel for this book that we live showed about. Heartless is a fantasy novel by Marissa Meyer, who also wrote the Lunar Chronicles. A lot of you probably know all of this, but it follows the prequel of how the Queen of Hearts became the evil Queen of Hearts, and I absolutely loved the audiobook of it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a slow moving book for sure. There's not a whole lot of plot driving through. Especially listening to the audiobook, it was phenomenal because the narrator does voices, and I just really loved the king's voice, and he has this little laugh in it, and it's like hoop, and I just really loved it. The next book that I read, which I think we've moved into February now if I'm remembering correctly, is Our Own Private Universe by Robin Talley, and I was given this copy by Harlequin Teen in exchange for an honest review, so that review is already up on my channel. I'll link that down below as well, and oh my god, this book was so good. It was a 4 out of 5 stars. This is about a girl who is named Aki, and she thinks that she might be bisexual, and she's on this church retreat, and she decides that this is the summer where she wants to figure that out and have a fling and, you know, do some love stuff. And I absolutely loved how they went about this. The bisexual identity in this book was really resonating for me. On top of that, they talked about safe sex, and not just any safe sex, but also safe girl-on-girl sex, and that was amazing to me, and I really, really loved it, and like that in and of itself could have given it a billion stars, but yes. The next book that I read was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I actually received this as a gift from Katrina from Little Book Owl as well for Christmas, and oh my god, I didn't know she was gonna get me anything, and then it came in the mail and I cried. First of all, Katrina's really nice and gave me a book, and I just was excited, and then on top of that, it was Gemina, and I'm obsessed with this series. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. This is the sequel to Illuminate, so I don't want to talk too much about what this book is, but this book does follow different characters than what the ones that Illuminate does. However, the characters from Illuminate do show up in this book, so yeah, there's definitely crossover, and it's definitely a continuation of the same story. So Illuminate is about a girl named Katie and a boy named Ezra, and they're on this ship. Their town got blown up, so they're like running away. Like, the town is being saved by this thing, and then it ends up being a whole hullabaloo of craziness, and it's sci-fi and amazing, and I just really love it. And it's told in the cool things. Ah, I love it. I love it. The last book that I finished in the month of February was The You I've Never Known by Ellen Hopkins. I already talked about this a little bit, but I absolutely love it. Oh my god, it's amazing. It just was very sad, but like heartwarming and just amazing. I figured out the twist, and I loved that I figured it out, but I was really mad because I couldn't tell anyone about it because no one I know has read it, so that was sad. But it was so good. I loved it. Gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Amazing. And then I'm currently reading 2 books, one of which is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. Already talked about this. So good so far. It just makes me cry a lot. It's a roller coaster of emotions because at one point you're just like, yay, they're so cute. And then the next chapter you're like, wow, I'm really sad because one is dead. Great. Also listening to is more like it, Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. I'm listening to this on audiobook right now. I'm like 43% in, and oh my god, I love this series so much so far, and the audiobooks are phenomenal, so if you haven't read these yet, I highly recommend. The narrator does an amazing job of doing all the different accents and like truly giving the characters life, and it just made it so much more interesting, I think. And also the names are really hard to pronounce, so I don't know how to spell them because I've never read it, but I know how to say them, which is nice. And yeah, so this book is the sequel, but Daughter of Smoke and Bone follows a girl named Karu, and she is a human who has blue hair that actually comes out of her head blue, and that's the only weird thing about her, except for the fact that she also is being raised by creatures that are not from this world. They're like mixed animal. She has to retrieve teeth for her caregivers, and she doesn't really know why to begin with, and she lives in Prague, and her best friend Susanna is glorious and just cute and wants to be a puppeteer. I don't even know like how to explain what this story is without giving more than that away, but there are angels and chimera, and it's amazing, and I just really like it, and it's great. It's everything I bought and got and read in the month of January and February, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye!